Hello everyone! Today I want to talk about the new upcoming character Kamisato Ayato and hopefully try to help you figure out if he fits your playstyle and team compositions, so ultimately if he is worth your wishes. First I'll go over his skill kit and talk about some build ideas, and in the later half I'll get into synergies with other characters and team compositions. His normal attacks don't have anything too special to them, so let's just skip straight past them. His elemental skill, when he presses it, he summons a water illusion that explodes for extra damage, and he enters a special stance that infuses his normal attacks with hydro. He attacks really fast, and it looks like the attacks cover quite a bit of area of effect. This skill will also have some extra damage scaling based off Ayato's max HP, and this effect seems to stack up with each attack. Also, when the aforementioned water illusion explodes, it will also generate some stacks instantly, by the way. This seems to be the main source of damage for this character, so the keywords here to look out for are normal attacks and obviously elemental skill. So in terms of artifacts, something like the Gladiator or the Heart of Depth set, for example, and when it comes to weapons, it would be something like the Sacrificial Sword, and I'm sorry to all the newer players, but the Festering Desire, the event weapon from patch 1.2, sounds pretty amazing as well. I'll get into more options and details in the build section though. When he presses his Elemental Burst skill, he summons a very large area of effect that deals hydro damage and increases your team's normal attack damage. So there is some utility attached to his skill kit to make him useful as a support character. It's pretty straightforward. Pair him with any character that deals a lot of normal attack damage, like Ito, Yoimiya or Raiden for example. Again, I'll get into more detail when we get to his team compositions. For now, let's get into some build options though. His deadline is a little harder to predict, but you obviously build the regular crit rate, crit damage, and in his case obviously a hydro damage bonus. These are a given, you always build this no matter what. And when it comes to energy recharge, we obviously don't know his energy cost yet, but let me just say, I have a weird hunch that he won't need too much energy recharge. Same for Elemental Mastery, especially if both of his skills are active at the same time. I imagine his Hydro application rate is way too high to get any value from the stat. So again, Elemental Mastery is probably not too good on this character. The main question right now is if you just build him on attack and completely ignore his HP scaling, or if building HP is actually worth it. Another possibility is if he really doesn't need too much energy recharge and you choose a weapon to cover all his needs there, for example the Festering Desire. In that case, the desired artifact substats for him can actually turn out to be crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, and HP percentage. So yeah, we just have to wait now and test it out later. When it comes to weapon options, I already mentioned it a few times, the Festering Desire just looks amazing for Ayato. Really nice base stats, and the increased elemental skill damage is just perfect for him. Same thing for the Black Sword, nice base stats, and the increased normal attack damage is perfect for him. I think these two 4-star options will be the best by far. If you don't have them though, the Sacrificial Sword can be pretty nice as well, but I'm not gonna lie, the base attack is pretty bad, and the skill cooldown on the effect is pretty long, so you definitely want some refinements on it, but proccing this is definitely a nice damage boost. If you don't have any of those options, I think the craftable Inazuma weapon, the something Kageguchi, can be pretty nice as well. It definitely helps out with your energy management too. And as always, if you have a 5-star option, don't even think about it, it will be the best. As for artifact choices, we already talked about substats. As for main stats, it's likely attack percentage in this slot, possibly HP percentage if his scaling is good enough. In this slot, always hydro damage bonus, and here always crit rate or crit damage, whichever one balances your stats better. As for sets, it's really anything with normal attack damage. So the Gladiator set is just a really solid option. Same thing for the Heart of Depth set. When it comes to the Shimenawa set, in theory it looks really great for him, but it depends on his energy management, so maybe it's just really impractical. And we can obviously not forget about the new set that will be released with 2.6, but it seems a little inconsistent because it only has a 36% chance to proc, but obviously in theory if it procs on every single attack of Ayato, it's crazy damage. If you are wondering about the Emblem of Severed Fate set that I have on Jingzhou right now, I think Ayato's Elemental Burst skill doesn't have the extra damage scaling from the HP percentage, and I actually have another mysterious hunch that his multipliers on his burst skill just aren't too impressive. Let's just say that the number might be twice as big for a character like Zhang Ling that is commonly played on this artifact set. Now let's get into team compositions. I think Ayato will be very flexible, similar to Raiden. He also has some utility to play him as a standard support character to buff normal attacks, or you use his elemental skill as kind of like the anchor to build a quick swap team around him, similar to Raiden's elemental burst skill. First, let's just operate under the assumption that he will be a regular support character. So the first slot obviously always goes to Ayato. For the healer, I just stick to Bennett since most people prefer him, but let me just say, since these teams will be pretty heavily built around normal attacks, a Constellation 2 gene for the extra 15% attack speed sounds pretty nice as well. And if you're sad that you lost a bunch of 50-50s to a Constellation 2 gene, now is the time to shine. And like I just mentioned, you want a main DPS that is pretty centered around normal attacks. For example, Razor as a physical DPS, you also need super contact, so you need another cryo support. But the problem with this is you will also trigger a bunch of freeze effects, and freeze only deals damage based on elemental mastery and the character's level, so it probably will be a damage loss on Razor, so this will be a little annoying to play because you actively need to avoid freezing. The next option will be something like Ito, because he will need to do a lot of normal attacks to stack up his charged attacks, but like I just said, you will also deal some charged attacks, so it's not optimal as well, and you can pick Zhongli to activate Geo Resonance, for example. Now let's get into the actual good characters. First one is Yoimiya. You obviously have a Vaporized team going on here, so Anemo characters are just really great. Venti, for example, Sucrose for the extra elemental mastery buff too, or Kazuha for the extra elemental damage buff. And the great thing is they are both infusion characters, so they can cover each other's downtime. When Yoimiya's elemental infusion runs out, you switch to Kazuha and cover her downtime with him, and vice versa. The next option will be Ayaka, his sister, so you already have a freeze team going on, so you could just pick something like an Anemo character to lower the resistances again, or something like Zhang Ling and you just get some Vaporize and Melt going on. Or you just pick Shenhe, which is really great in my opinion because you have so much normal attack damage now stacked on Ayaka with Shenhe's buff and Ayato's buff that you can just play a Gladiator set, for example, on Ayaka and shred like crazy. And the last option will be Raiden Shogun. Again, same thing as with the Yoimiya, they are both infusion characters so they can cover each other's downtime. And the great thing about Raiden is you can get away with 0 energy recharge on Ayato like this, I believe. And in your last slot, you can again pick something like Zhang Ling, any Anemo character, or maybe even double up on the electro damage with something like Yae or Beidou official, for example. Now, if you want to build a quick swap team and play Ayato more actively as a DPS character, you just pick something like Zhang Ling and, for example, Kazuha, just 2 support characters, and you do the usual thing of rotating through all your elemental skills and elemental burst skills and cover the downtime on Ayato's elemental skill. You obviously can pick any combination. You could just even pick something like Zhang Ling and an electro character, and you have something similar-ish to a national team even. There are 2 more specific team compositions centered around Ayato as a DPS that I want to highlight though. First, Yunjin plus Albedo. You get your Geo Resonance and a lot of passive damage from these 2 characters, and obviously Yunjin's buff. The other one would be between these 2 characters as a freeze team, and especially if you have your Constellation 2 Jean, because you get 2 attack speed buffs from Jean and Shonyun, and you obviously also get a cooldown reduction if you have Constellation 2 Shonyun. And on top of that, you also get a little bit of crit rate from Rosaria. And again, it's a nice freeze team. Alright, we made it to the end. I hope this helped you decide whether you want to wish for Ayato or not. Next, I'll do similar videos on Ayaka and Venti. Stay tuned for that. Until then, have fun and bye bye.